Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to data science with the use of Python. So in this class, we are going to talk about another sub-package that is included inside of SciPy, and in this case, it's going to be the integration package, which is integrate. So basically, to understand this package, to understand what is it, I'll have a simple definition. Basically, the SciPy integrate sub-package will provide several integration techniques that includes an ordinary differential equation integrator. An overview of the model is provided by the help command. So basically, you can use the help integrate methods for integrating functions given function objects. In other words, the integration function is simply used to find displacement areas, and it can deal with adding slices to determine the whole, so the complete whole that we have. So yes, it can sound complicated at first, but once you are used to use this, those functions, you'll see it's not that complicated. So to understand the integrating sub-package, I have two functions that are not that complicated, but you need some basic mathematical knowledge to it. It's the quad function and the DBL quad. So basically, the quad function will simply calculate the integral of a function which has one variable, and the DBL quad function will calculate the double integral of a function which has two variables. So basically, we'll work with one as well as two variables. Once again, my goal right here is not for you guys to understand completely those functions, but simply to understand how they work. And after that, it will simply be practice. All right, so let's start. So basically, the first thing that we need to do is pretty simple. It's importing SciPy as we always do. So we'll import SciPy as SP. Then what we want to do is we want to import our sub-package. In this case, the sub-package that we will work with will be integrate. So basically, how do we import our sub-package? It's pretty simple. We write down from SciPy import. So what exactly we want to import? We want to import integrate. So here we have our sub-package that we have, the sub-package that we have just imported. And now what we want to do is we want to work with our first type of function. So in this case, our first function will be the quad function. So basically, the quad function is a method that can get the integration of a given function from limit a to b using our function. So in other words, what does it mean? It will simply calculate the integral of a function which has one variable. In the difference, the DBL quad, the function that we are going to talk about a bit later, will calculate the double integral of a function which has two variables. So basically, the first one has one variable, and the second one has two variables, but it's going to be a double integral as well. All right, so how exactly does everything work? Pretty simple. First thing that we need to do is we need to create a variable. So let's create a variable, and this variable, let's call it variable 1, so var1. Basically, in this variable, what we'll set, we'll write down our parameters. In this case, it's gonna be lambda. So lambda x, 2 points. And how exactly we want lambda x? So basically, we want lambda x to be x exponent 3. So x multiplication sign 2 times 3. Then what we want to do, we want to create our calculation variable, so a variable where we are going to store all our calculation. So let's call it function 1. So function 1 in this case will be equal to integrate. So once again, right now why we write down integrate? Because we are going to look for a function that is inside the integrate sub package, and the name of this function is quad. So since we're working with the quad function that is integrate inside of the integrate sub package, we write down integrate.quad. Then next thing that we need to write down would be our parameters. So the first our parameters are stored inside of var1, so we just write down var1, and then we need to write down our limits. So our limits would be, let's say, between 0 and 6. All right, next thing that we want to do is print everything. So simply write down print. And what exactly we want to print? We want to print function 1. So here it is right there. Then we run our app. So you'll see it's going to take a little bit of time, but in this case, it was pretty automatic. So this would be the answer of this integration. So basically it will look something like this. All right, so right now that we have that you guys saw what it looks like to make the integrate quad function, let's make it a bit more complicated and work with the DBL quad. So basically the double integration of in this case two variables. So basically we'll have a function that has two variables, so x and y. So what we'll do right now, we'll simply delete the first part and we'll keep var1. So basically var1 in this case will be equal to, we need an x and a y because we have in this case two variables. So basically we'll have our y at first, then we'll have our x. So write down x and y, 2 points, and then we can write down our operation. So let's say in this case it's gonna be x multiplied by, I don't know, y exponent 4, something like this. All right, then when we have this, the next thing that we need to do, we'll do the exact same thing. So we need to create our function, so our variable where we will store our calculation, and we can write down our function. So it will work pretty much the same way. So it's gonna be integrate point. So right now, since we're working with the integrate subpackage, we start with integrate, then we write down our function, which will be dbl quad. So in this case, we have it right here. First thing that we'll write down will be our parameters, sorry. So var1. Then we write down our, in this case, our limits. So our limits, let's say, would be between 0 and 6, like we did in our first example. And then we'll write down our function, which would be, let's say, for example, lambda x will be 0, and lambda x 1. All right, so we have everything that we need. Next thing that we'll do, it will simply print our function. So we'll print function 1, and we can run our app. So what we'll do, once again, it will give us the answer of the double integration. All right, so as you can see, guys, yes, it's a bit more complicated to understand, and to to be able to explain you all this, I need to make a separate course about all those functions, because you need a good mathematical knowledge. You need really a good mathematical knowledge. Once again, my goal here is really to give you an introduction so you guys understand a little bit how all this works. So I hope you guys are able to write down those functions, have been able to write down those functions. And as you can see, you have this sub package inside of Python, inside of SciPy, sorry, that is inside of Python, that you can use if you guys decide to make some more advanced Python apps in the future. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class.